video, I want to go ahead and finish off gluing the spine. Now, the spine has no printing on it, but as you progress in your path as a bookmaker, you can buy the craft paper. You can cut it to 8.5 by 11 dimension copy paper. You can run it through a laser printer or an ink printer, inkjet, as cardstock, light cardstock. And then once you get the printing that you want on the spine, using a text block, Word tools to format that, you would spray it with clear acrylic or with varnish, let it dry, and that's very nice. But here, this is just a very generic journal, and I didn't put any printing on the spine. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up. Now, I know that this is going to start touching the counter, so I'm just making sure. In fact, let me get a piece of paper here. I'm using white paper here just so that it doesn't distract, but I have piles of waste paper through adventurous printing, shall we say. And the laser printer seemed to have a mind of its own, so I have plenty of blank used paper down there that I use. Now, remember that piece of tape that we had down there? I'm just going to go ahead and undo it. There we go. I'll move the text block. I don't need the text block right now. Here come my parakeets to enjoy the show. Now, what I need to do is I need to make sure that the spine, as it flips over, is going to cover any white edge of that paper up top. Right, so obviously I need to trim this, and I'm going to trim this back even more because I want the mull when I put that when I put the text block in here. I want that mull, when it reaches over and glues, I want it to glue to the board as much as possible. And as you see right now, it's gluing to the paper, which is going to compromise the bond because it's going to be only as strong as the paper's bond to the board. So I'm going to go ahead and do some trimming right now. And I would highly recommend you do that as well when you begin making your own. And I'll just go ahead and I'll use a ruler here to trim in. No, I'm not going to cut the fabric. I'm going to just cut this part of the board here, and I'll just cut it out like that, and then I'll just scrape it up and pull and scrape, and it's not, many times it's not going to be pretty. Well, actually that came out very well. Many times it's not that nice. In fact, here, because I don't want to use a knife anywhere close to the fabric, I'm going to pull up as much as I can, and I'm going to, well, having just said what I did, it seems kind of weird that I just used a knife, but I know that the fabric there is slanting away. You see that? So when I actually used the knife, I knew that there was just board underneath it. But you never want to be slicing away at something and actually accidentally cut the fabric there. All right, so now I'll just go ahead and place this where I think it needs to be, but right there is fine. And I'll just go ahead and, here I can just rip it. I'll just rip it up this way. There we go. All right. And when I said, it gets messy, you can see that. And I have this here now. I might be able to clear some of that up. I've got enough board that the mull is going to really have a nice bond there, but that's good too. Okay. Now, what we need to do next is, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Well, I'll leave it there. Is we need to work this spine over so that it curves over like that. All right. And we need to do the other side as well. We can do this without glue. We're just kind of pulling a little bit, and we're just making sure that it folds over. It's going to crinkle a little bit, but you can sometimes work it out. Now, I do let my fingernails have some length so that I can do this sort of work. Fingernails are a type of tool like that. I've been painting, and I managed to get some green paint under my nail. That's what that is. But anyway, there we go. And I'm going to try to clean out that wrinkle right there. You see that? Okay, there we go. There we go. Now I'm just going to kind of work the spine a little bit. Get it nice, and there we go. All right. And so, eventually, that's what it looks like. Now, at this point, I'm pulling back up, and I'm going to put the glue down. So this paper is going to now become my glue sheet and I'm going to spread that glue on it, flip it, glue it, and I'll do the same for the other end. So let's go ahead. I've got my glue. Here comes the brushwork, and I'm going to make sure I get a little bit on the fabric there, a little bit in there. You don't have to put a lot of glue here, okay? Because you want to put just the right amount, right? What you don't want to do is, as you flip it over and turn it, and with your thumb push in from the top, you don't want all of a sudden a huge glob of glue to come squirting out from under there. Now here, there's going to be a wrinkle that you're going to have to just live with. You're going to have to hide that baby right there, okay? But as much as you can, try to press it in, and there is going to be a wrinkle that happens, but if you can hide it into that deep well of the spine, the back of the spine there, the inside back, that's good. That just happens because you're monkeying around with widths. You see that the board has a certain width, and the spine starts getting glued on that width, and then the width drops to basically nothing, two pieces of paper, and then it bounces back out to the width of the board, which is 1/8 of an inch. So that is going to be troublesome when you try to get a nice fold, a nice clean, crisp. Now sometimes I'll press it in there and make sure that I work that out as much as I can before that glue absolutely sets. But that looks really good. And then what you want to do is you want to run your fingers up and try to make sure that there's no extraordinary ridge. There is going to be a ridge there. That's just the nature of the game. I'm talking about running your finger over and feeling where the fabric transitions into the spine paper. You don't want any gaps that you can actually look in and see. Okay, time for the next one. So I need to make sure that I know where that old glue is. And just dip your brush in there. Drop it right in there. That was sloppy. I dropped some. I'm not only wasting glue, I'm creating a few danger spots for when I put down my work. Now I do have a little bit of extra glue here, so I'm just going to run it on the inside of the spine and on the boards, because I know that can't hurt and it'll spread out that glue. All right, good. Now from the back, right, I just take it out. That's where it's all glued and ready to go. And I start from the edges, push down. And it's very important that you work this when it's dry first, so that you're not introducing that crease for the first time to the paper, right? So that paper knows where to go. And once it has the glue, it gets a little more pliable and it goes. Now you see that gap right there that's happening, right in there. That's what I mean when I say you're going to have a wrinkle happen. Let's go ahead and see if we can hide that wrinkle by making it appear right down there at the bottom. There we go. Actually, I kind of smoothed it out. Actually, it worked its way off to the sides there. I don't know if you can see that, but now that I have that, I'm going to make sure that the ridges are as smooth as I can get them. I'm going to have to see if I can move this down a little bit. There's a little bit of a bump there. It's a little more than I like, but it's still going to be okay. And then just as the glue is still wet in there, I'm moving it around a little bit. You see, I'm pulling and I'm pushing and I'm tweaking, and there you go. That's ready to go. Excellent. And you can see how those spine edges are lining up fairly well there and really well there. That's good news.